lest I forget thy love for me. Lead me to Calvary, lest I forget Gethsemane, no, lest I forget thine agony, lest I forget thy love for me. Please lead me to Calvary. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sister Camille, for another beautiful, beautiful song. Lead Me to Calvary. I know that's not the title, lest I forget. That was just so beautiful. Thank you so much as we reflect on our Creator. At this time, everyone has been waiting for Sister Louella and Sister Gloria as they show us how to cook healthy, delicious meals for our family. Just a reminder, the recipes have been placed in the chat. I will place them again in a little while, but just go on and look in the chat for the recipes. Take a screenshot or save them. All right, thank you so much. Over to you, sisters.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I want to welcome everyone to our little cooking demonstration. And in line with this month has been called Heart Healthy Month. And so the recipes that we have chosen for you today are recipes that help promote healthy heart. And so the first recipe we're going to do is a beet salad. It's a simple beet salad. And we know that beets are a friend to our heart, our blood. Beet has very little, about 40 or 44 calories, but beet has protein, it has a little fat, it has good fiber, it has carbohydrates, it has folate, beet has manganese, it has copper. I mean, it has so many good things that would help support a healthy heart. And so our recipe calls for 2 to 3 medium beets, steamed and diced. You can use canned beets if that's what's available. A quarter teaspoon salt, about 4 green onions, plus or minus, depends on how much you love onions. A quarter teaspoon dry basil, and a quarter cup of sesame seed dressing. Or you can use any of the dressing. I made my special sesame seed dressing, and so I'm going to use that in my beet salad. And all it is, you put everything in and you mix it together. And it is very tasty and delicious. So I'm going to start with putting my basil. And then I'm going to put my salt, just a quarter teaspoon. I don't want too much salt on it. I want to taste the little sweetness of the beets. So you don't want it really salty. This is just to enhance the flavor. And I'm going to put my green onions. If you prefer to use regular onions, that's fine. You can do that as well. Or you can use red onions if you want. That's fine as well. And then I'm going to add a little more, this is dried onions. I want a little crunch in there. And about quarter cup of the dressing. I'm just gonna, this is about quarter cup. And you just mix it. Mix it in. I don't want it too much dressing in there. But this is a nice, really healthy salad. You can have that with any meal that's vegetable-based, of course, not fruit-based. And you see the little green, I like to see the green. I love color. Doesn't that look delicious and appetizing? This is your beet salad. And when you look at beets, when you think of beets, I always think blood, bright red blood. That's what I do. When I think of beets, I think of having a nice, rich red blood because beet has all those really good things, especially the minerals that helps our heart function really, really very well. So I want to encourage you, eat beets. This is just another way that you can have your beets. If you want to have a warm beet salad, you can skip the dressing and you can just add a little lemon juice, along with your seasonings, and you can have it warm as well. But today I chose to have it as a cold beet salad. Okay, are there any questions? I hope you can appreciate this salad, and I would like you to try it. Try it at home. You would enjoy it. Are there any questions for me, or can we move right on to Sister Gloria? Okay, if there are no questions, over to you, Sister Gloria.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Yes, we're here, sister. We can hear you.
Yes. Today, I'm going to show you how to make the lentil roast.
Okay, just turn your camera on.
Okay. You see me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make the lentil roast today. First, I put my gloves on before I start. We have 2 cups of cooked lentils. I got 1 cup in here, 2 cups of lentils. Okay. I got 1 cup of nut milk already in here. I'm gonna put this in 1 cup of nut milk. Get a teaspoon of garlic powder. 1 cup of chopped walnuts. Medium chopped onions. I'm going to put my onions first. Okay, I'm going to put my garlic. Okay, I got have to put a teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of sage. Gonna mix that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of tahini. I'm going to put it in the milk. And I'm going to whisk it together, the tahini in the milk. Tahini, as you know, is sesame seeds ground up. I'm gonna my tahini and the milk because it's a little thick, so I want it to incorporate in my food. So I'm gonna whisk it a little. I'm gonna keep whisking until I get most of it melt in our milk. You see? Keep whisking it until we get it all melted out. Okay. I'm gonna put some Italian seasoning. I'm gonna put like a teaspoon of Italian seasoning in here. And I got a 1 cup of carrots, shredded carrot. I'm gonna add my walnuts. Chop 1 cup of chopped walnuts. I'm gonna stir it all together. Everybody can see that?
Yeah, we can see it once you lift the bowl.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna add my milk and my tahini. This is it. I'm just mix it together, and I'm going to add 1 cup breadcrumbs. This is homemade gluten-free breadcrumbs. The bread I bake breadcrumbs with it. So we're gonna mix all of that together. For me, I love lots of seasoning. So I have a little, like a teaspoon of flake onion, because I love extra seasoning in my extra flavor. So I add this up. And we stir it all together. To make our dough. And then we put it in a dish lined with parchment paper. And we bake it. I bake it at least 350 degrees, and I watch it. First, I bake it for like 30 minutes, and I cover it with parchment paper, and I put the foil over the parchment paper so it don't get too brown before it's baked. And then I take it out, and I take out the covering, and then put it back in the oven to bake. Okay, I'm gonna show you. The end result are when I put it in the oven, when I put it to bake, what it looks like. after I bake it. Since we don't have the time, I don't show everything. I'll show you what it looks like when I bake it. And I'm gonna put it on. This is what it looks like when I bake it in the oven. This is my loaf, and I'm gonna cut it so you can see what it looks like. I'm gonna show you the end result of my roast. This is like
Yeah, that looks so delicious.
this is my lentil roast. Everyone can see what it looks like. You can see the inside. I can show you the inside. This is what the inside looks like.
Delicious.
This is my lentil roast. It
Wow.
doesn't take that long to make the roast. Few minutes. It doesn't take that long for you to make a roast like this. Right?
It looks delicious. We have some questions about that. Are you ready for questions or no?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so can the lentil roast be frozen?
Yes. Yes, it could be frozen.
And how would we freeze it?
I freeze it just like it's in the dish. I put parchment paper over it, and I wrap it with saran wrap.
Okay.
Lots of saran wrap, so it could be very, very tight. And then I put it, if you have the very big Ziploc bags,
Mhm.
I put one on either side, and then I get another clear plastic bag and I tie it up and I put it in the freezer. It could stay for a pretty long time.
Okay, and this is obviously after it's cooked.
Yes.
After it cooks.
Cool.
If you don't have time to bake it, you still freeze it just like that with a you put the parchment paper over it, saran wrap, and you can freeze it just like that. And when you're ready, you just let it defrost for a little while, and then you put it in the oven to bake.
And someone asked a question about we saw you put in chopped walnuts. They want to know if they could replace the chopped walnuts with walnut meal.
Yes, you could
In place
you
of the
could the reason why I put chopped walnuts, I want it like to have a little
crunch.
texture, a little crunch. I like the crunch, but you could use the walnut meal or the pecan meal, whatever, you know.
Okay. Awesome. I think that was the only questions for that one. I did miss some questions about the beet recipe, and I know we want to kind of.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the beet, someone asked if it was raw, but I think you mentioned that you steamed the beet.
Yes, steam the beets.
Yes.
Yeah, you can steam it.
Okay. Someone also asked if you could sprinkle shredded coconut in the recipe, or would that be mixing fruits and vegetables?
No, you can put shredded coconut.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever is your heart's desire. Just don't put like apples, or any other fruit. But coconut is a fat, is an oil. You can use a little coconut.
Okay, and someone mentioned about they asked a question about sesame seed dressing. Is that like a whole nother production, or can you kind of share how to make that briefly?
I can share that. I have to find the recipe, and I'll try to find it when Gloria is doing her last recipe, and I'll quickly try to send it to Rhonda.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Those 2 dishes so far, you're making us hungry.
Yes, and as you can see, we're still keeping in line with heart healthy. We know that lentils are, what do we find in lentils? It has what? Magnesium, folate, it has fiber also, right? And our lentils has calcium, it has especially iron, which supports a healthy heart. And so my next recipe now is one of my family's favorites, kale chips.
Yes, awesome. Go in and show us your camera. Your camera is all we want to see these kale chips.
Oh, it is on. I don't know what's going on. Oh boy. Oh, let's see what went wrong. I am not sure. Hold on. Can you see it now? I'm seeing it. Can you see it?
No.
Hmm. That is strange. I have no idea. Um, tech, where are our tech people? There we go.
Okay, well, yep, you're there now.
Okay, there we go. She had to spotlight me. Kale is one of my favorite all-time vegetables. And kale has quite a bit. It has the B vitamins, it has K, it has vitamin C, it has calcium, it has manganese, folate, of course, carotenoids, and it is just wonderful. It has a wonderful flavor. And so today I'm going to show you how to make kale chips. Now, kale chips, you can do it in the oven if you don't have a dehydrator, you know, on the lowest temperature, preferably at least 170 or less. If you can't do it in the oven and you have an air fryer, you can also do it in the air fryer. But you have to just really watch it because it will, you know, brown quickly. Oh, my favorite is doing it in my dehydrator. And so first you get your kale. There's two kinds of kale. You know, there's the curly kale, there's the flat leaf kale. This is more the curly kale, as you can see, you know, the curly edges. And you just break it up into, you know, chip-sized pieces. You know, my husband used to love the big ones. So I'd have to make some really big pieces for him. But you know, you just break it up into sizes, you know, kind of like the size of chips. And so what we're going to do, we're going to make a cheesy sauce to go with our kale. And for the cheese sauce, I'm going to use cashews. If you would like, you can use sunflower seeds in place of the cashews. I do that quite a bit. So it calls for for a recipe of the cashew cheese. And so I'm just going to make the cashew cheese and then we will use that recipe for our kale. So for the cheese sauce, I'm just going to put everything in the blender. Then I'm going to blend it. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to put in my cashews. That's 1 cup of cashews. And I'm using, in the past, I used to use roasted red peppers, but when I learned about mixing vegetable with fruit, I no longer use the roasted red peppers, but I use paprika. So let me put some of the water first. It calls for 2 cups of water. I'm gonna put 1 cup of water first, and then I'll add the other one after I cream the nuts. I like to do the nuts first and get it really nice and creamy, and then I add the other ingredients. Okay, I'm gonna mute for a second. Okay, that's nice and creamy. Can you see that? Really nice and creamy. It's nice and thick.
Looks
So
delicious.
now I know there's no chunks in there. So I can go ahead and put in my other ingredients. So I'm gonna put in my salt. And we have 1 teaspoon salt. We have our garlic powder, and that's 1 teaspoon. And we have our onion powder, 2 teaspoons. You always want double the amount of garlics. Less garlic, more onions. You don't want it the opposite way because it will taste too garlicky. And I'm using the paprika. That will kind of help my cheese to kind of look, give it a nice color. So you will really see it looks like almost like, you know, cheddar cheese color kind of. And then we're gonna put in our lemon juice. A lot of times I put in extra lemon juice, but the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons. There's like a little tiny sourness sometimes. 2, 3, and I'm gonna put a little extra. I like the taste of the lemon. And then since we're not using yeast flakes, I'm gonna use the tahini. The tahini and the lemon kind of really gives it a really nice flavor. And so I don't miss yeast flakes at all. I keep it as simple as I can. And of course, this is roasted sesame seed. That's all tahini. So I'm gonna put that in there. And then I'm gonna blend it all up. And then I'll add the water afterwards. Okay. You notice the color already? See how beautiful that is? I'm gonna add the rest of the water. Okay, that ought to be good. See how beautiful that color is? So this is our cheese sauce. It's liquidy, but it's not fully liquid. It's a little thick. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this tray 1 second. Okay. So now that I have my cheese sauce, I'm gonna pour my cheese sauce into the kale. See that? Because you want to coat it. So I'm gonna spread it around. And I'm gonna use my hand to massage it into the kale. My children call this painting leaves. See, you just want to coat it nicely, really nicely. Just coat it. And you can use a little less water if you choose, if you want it really thick on there. But I just want it lightly coated. So you notice how it's sticking on it? It's coating the kale. So you want to coat everything nicely, both sides, so you can have the flavor of the cheese on your kale chips. And since I'm gonna dehydrate it today, I'm gonna you can put it directly on the mesh sheets. I'm gonna put it directly on the mesh. So you want to coat it and you want to put it in 1 layer. If you are using an air fryer, same thing. You put it in 1 layer. And you can see, so we're gonna do 1 layer. Let me put this a little closer so you can, there we go. 1 layer of kale chips. You don't want to overlap it, because if you overlap it, it will kind of take more time to dry. And I'm gonna put in the dehydrator. I think the ones that I did for demonstration, to show you, I put it for about 4 hours on about, I believe I used about 140, 145 temperature on my dehydrator. But it may take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours to dry. But if you do it in the air fryer, it's only a few minutes because the air fryer and the oven kind of does it real fast, which I don't like it because it colors it. But the way that I do it with in the dehydrator, you kind of keep your color. Oh, let me share something with you. In 20, it's kind of a little funny, but it wasn't for me at the time. In 2015, I believe, I went on a mission trip to Mexico. And we drove in. We drove from Oregon. At the time, we lived in Oregon. So three of us drove into Mexico, and we were going into the mountains to teach some health classes. And so my job was to be in the kitchen. And we had our lunches and we had different things with us. And I made the mistake. Well, not a mistake. I love kale chips. It's really good for traveling, traveling food and for lunches. And I had kale chips, but it was in my little lunch bag in the trunk. And we got to a checkpoint where you had to open up your trunk. You were not supposed to get out the car, but then since the car we were driving in didn't have an automatic thing where you open the trunk from inside, the young man who was driving had to get out and open the trunk. So when he went and opened the trunk, one of the first things that the officer picked up was my lunchbox. Opened my lunchbox and I had a Ziploc bag with kale chips. And we were looking, looking in the mirror and we're looking. And then he came to the driver's side and he held up my bag of kale chips and he's like, "Cannabis, huh?" And we were so terrified at the time. And I was like, oh my goodness. We thought he was gonna do something to it, and then he bust out laughing. And then we kind of sighed of relief because we thought we were really gonna go down because he thought our kale chips was marijuana. But after that, never again. The next time I went into Mexico, I made sure I didn't have kale chips.
That is so funny, sister. That is funny.
But every time they remember, they laugh at me and they tease me about bringing cannabis into Mexico. But it's really good for lunch. Those who take my daughter takes it to work for lunch, instead of eating potato chips. See, so we have one layer. And I'm gonna put that in the dehydrator for about 4 hours. I'll set it for about 4 hours and then I'll check it because sometimes some of them get more crisp than others. And once it's done, I will take it out, and you want to keep it in something that is airtight because if you don't, it will lose the crispiness. But I want to show you what it looks like, and it's really, 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 really delicious. You will enjoy it and experiment. I want you to experiment with different flavors. I love to make like a sweet and sour. And here is our cheesy kale chips. Doesn't that look delicious? It's nice and crunchy. It's really, really nice and dry. And you get a really nice crunch. You see the little cheesiness on it.
That looks delicious.
It's very delicious. Okay, so I hope you will experiment at home. You can make different flavors, whatever your flavor is. Just make sure that it's thick enough that it will stick. And one of the key things is very important to make sure your kale is nice and dry. Because if there's water on your kale, then whatever your dressing is won't stick on your kale. And you will have a weaker flavor. But if you really want a really nice flavor, make sure your dressing has a little body to it, or whatever you're putting on has some body, not just watery that will run off. But also make sure that your kale is nice and dry before you put your dressing on. And hope you enjoyed it. Hope you were blessed by this recipe. And I'm looking forward to sharing some more recipes with you.
We had a question about it. So Would you recommend maybe the salad spinner to make sure it's dry, and then even after that, wait again?
Yes, yeah, I use a salad spinner, or sometimes you can pat dry it with paper towel or a nice clean cotton cloth that would absorb the moisture. But the salad spinner works excellent.
Awesome. And then someone asked to, just to repeat, how long would it store in the sealed, the airtight container?
Oh, sometimes I forget I have kale chips, and when I look, I'm like, oh, it's been 3 weeks and it's still there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I generally make at least two. My dehydrator has what 9, 10 shells of this size. So when I make kale chips, I make kale chips because
So,
we eat quite a bit of it, the whole family, we eat it every day until it's done.
and you just keep it on the counter, or do you keep it in the refrigerator?
Oh, I keep it on the counter. As
Okay,
long as it's airtight. I
awesome.
keep it, I let me show you what I have, some of it. I keep some, you can put it in the mason jars. Sometimes I put it in a mason jar. I have some in there. That keeps it really nice and tight. Or if you have a nice big jar, you can put it in there as well. But as long as it's airtight, so it does not lose its crispy crunchiness, it will last, for a few weeks. And if you're taking it to work, you can put it in a little container or a little jar. It will last in the Ziploc, for a few hours until it's time for your lunch. But it's really, really delicious. It's a good way that I got my children to eat vegetables. And you can try different vegetables. I've done collard greens. Collard greens take a little longer to dry, but it's delicious as well. I've done spinach. Spinach takes less time because it's just a lot of water and it's really thin, and you have to watch it because it will get really brittle. But I find the one I really like to do is the kale. But I do the collards as well. I've never done the turnip greens and the mustard greens, but I'll try one of these days.
One last question on the kale chips.
Mhm.
The, oh, okay, I had the question myself and I forgot it just that quick. It was in relation to the, you said you didn't use the yeast flakes, you used the tahini.
Tahini.
So is that like still giving the same flavor, or is it for another reason?
It's not the same flavor, but it's pretty close. It really, it enhances it. I do not use the yeast flakes anymore, because of the processing and a lot of things I've cut out my diet, because of their, excitotoxins like Bragg's and all those things. And
Right.
so God have showed me that I can use the tahini. Sometimes I use just a lot more lemon in whatever. It depends on what I'm making. But the tahini adds a really nice flavor. It's not exactly like the flavor you would get with the yeast flakes, but it's pretty close. Pretty close. If you can balance the lemon and the tahini, you get a really, really nice flavor. And
Wonderful.
you won't miss that yeast flakes flavor at all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Okay, Sister Gloria, I'm anxious for that other one. That's one of my favorite recipes that she's gonna do. Sister Gloria, our dessert.
Okay, don't get too hungry quick, please.
Someone already
I'm
placed
gonna
that in
do.
the chat. They said we can't watch this hungry.
Okay,
Yes, and
I'm gonna
remember,
make it.
friends, place your questions in the chat. Continue to keep them coming.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
going to make the coconut macaroon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got 2 tablespoons of coconut milk. So I'm going to put it in here.
Okay, just turn on your camera so we can see this. We are so excited about this recipe.
Okay, I'm
Perfect.
going to do 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm going to put my honey in here. Just get my honey out of this spoon because it normally takes away all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add lemon rind, 1.5 teaspoons of the lemon rind, and 1/2 teaspoon of coriander in here. So I'm going to mix this. Gonna mix this first before I add anything else. So we want the honey to incorporate with the milk and the zest and the coriander. And I'm gonna give it a little bit. And then I have a cup of carrots. So I'm gonna add my carrots in here also. So we have our carrot, coconut milk, honey, coriander. And our lemon zest also in here. And I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of pink Himalaya salt. And now I'm gonna add a 1/3 cup of gluten-free flour. So I have oat flour. So I'm going to use a 1/3 cup of oat flour. I'm going to make sure I stir all the flour in the carrot mixture. And now I'm going to add 1 cup of shredded coconut. I made some fresh coconut myself. I'm going to add them. You mix everything, make sure everything is incorporated, then mix everything together. Then we are going to have some coconut carrot macaroons. Okay. So what I do, I use an ice cream spoon. But if you don't have an ice cream spoon, you could do it like this. If you don't have it, with your gloves on, then you do it. The reason why I use ice cream spoon, I want it to be even, around the same size. Okay, I'm gonna put one more on my tray. And now I'm gonna show you the finished product after we bake it in an oven, 375, for at least 20 minutes. And you check it. Sometimes the oven is not the right temperature that you want, so you have to check it. And you flip it over so it makes sure it is baked properly. So this is what it looks like before it goes to the oven. We use a either a cookie tray or and we line it with parchment paper. And now I'm going to show you the finished product of my macaroons. I put some fresh, I put some coconut flakes on it because I love the coconut. This is my macaroon. And let me show you one on the inside of the macaroon. This is your
Ooh,
coconut
it
macaroon.
looks so
Right?
moist and delicious. Yes.
Yeah, it's very moist. See, it is moist. It's not dry. It is moist. So this is what it looks like. Finished product, coconut macaroon.
Oh, that looks so good. Someone said yummy, yummy, yummy. And they invited over for
Exactly.
Sabbath lunch.
Yes, you can come over.
They're very delicious. The recipe seems to be simple, but when you taste them, they are so delicious.
They're moist and delicious.
Yeah.
Any questions, anyone?
So we had a question about someone said they're suffering, that they're looking at all this delicious food.
They can come over. I will gladly share.
Very good, very good. So we're gonna look for it in the TOC chat. So
Yeah,
the question
I
was
would gladly share. If
awesome.
anyone would like, if they live close by, they could come over.
Someone said, are you ladies compiling a cookbook?
Yes, we are.
Okay, awesome, awesome. The next question was, you mentioned that you made your fresh coconut. Tell us how
Yeah.
you went about that.
Okay, I get the fresh coconut to the hut. I break it and take it out of the shell, and I peel the black out of it, the dark portion of it.
Mhm.
I peel that, and then I shred it.
Okay. And do you have to let it dry for a certain amount of
And
days?
then I put it on a sheet like and parchment paper, and I put it in the oven for 170 degrees, and I watch it
Okay.
so it don't burn.
Okay. And then you store it where?
You could store it in an airtight container,
Okay.
but I put mine in the Ziploc bag because I know I'm going to use it right away. So I didn't, because
Yeah.
I used all that I made.
And you can also freeze it. It freezes and it doesn't deteriorate.
Okay. Awesome. Someone asked a question about the previous recipe. Let me see if I can find that question.
Potato chips.
I think so.
Mhm.
No, okay, I can't find it. Remember, friends, if you have any questions, please go in and place them in the chat. Oh, someone asked about the kale. So about how much kale would they need for because the recipe called for, certain measurements for the cheese. So how much kale?
Just one bunch of kale. you know,
Okay.
yeah, just a bunch of kale. And you could play it by ear because either way you will have leftover of the cheese sauce. And so, that recipe, I can do 2 bunches of kale with that recipe.
Okay. Yeah, because if we're not growing our own kale, the bunches that they sell in the store are rather small now.
Yeah.
Yes, they are very small.
Yeah, I know.
So you use more than one bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the key is having enough sauce to coat your kale, and you could maybe use a bunch and a half, or 2 bunches, it depends, or 3 bunches, it depends on how small those bunches are.
Mhm.
But experiment, try the collard greens, try different greens and see how you like that.
Yes.
And different flavors. It don't have to be cheesy, but we just love the you know, cheesy
The
flavor.
key is just trying different stuff that works for you. Your taste buds.
Right, right.
Explore and experiment. That's what I do sometimes. I can take any recipe and make it my own.
Yeah, so we want to encourage you to do that, to
Yeah,
create
so you just explore and you take a chance at making stuff on your own. The
substitute.
flavoring, that's what counts. The flavoring, it goes to your taste buds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I
Because
go on. Oh, go on.
that somebody asked a question.
I don't think so. You were saying something. This beet salad looks so good, and the kale chips. Oh my goodness! And these macaroons. Oh,
And there you go. Yeah,
oh
don't
my
forget
goodness!
it. Don't
That
forget,
low,
yeah.
yes,
And
that
the
lentil
dessert, come
roast.
on, enjoy. Come on, bon appetit.
That is
The,
amazing. Someone mentioned in the chat, it said for the lentil roast, if you don't bake it, can you crumble it? Let me read this again. If you not.
The
Oh, someone
crumble,
mentioned you had
the
mentioned you
lentil
made
roast.
breadcrumbs, and they asked for the bread recipe. And I know you guys every Thursday since January, you've been on the other platform doing free cooking classes. So someone asked about the bread recipe. Remember, you can look on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
yeah,
Yes. And also, what did they say here?
it's on the Table of Christ YouTube channel. Bread.
Yes. Okay, so Sister Claricina, I hope that question was answered for you, Clarizina. Okay. And someone asked, how would you use the air fryer for the kale chips? I think
Um,
that, yeah,
you
they
see
mentioned
the
that.
recipe that I sent. You put it on like I said, one layer on the rack in the air fryer, and then you bake it at about 300 degrees for about 5 minutes. You check it.
You have the air fryer, the one that looks like an oven. You have the basket. You can use that.
Right. You
Let me
put it,
show you the basket you can use for that one.
but it wouldn't take more than about 5 to 10 minutes. But the reason I don't like um some of the air fryers because it colors it. You notice you can still see green and you can see the yellow. But sometimes the air fryer and the oven makes
Yeah,
cheese
so
darker.
you can use that. This one, the air fryer comes with this, the one that looks like an oven. So you can use that one if
And
you
you
have
have
that air fryer.
no parchment paper, just put it
That
direct.
yeah, because it goes through right through. So this
Okay.
could be used. Yeah.
So the no parchment paper, even though the sauce would be maybe dripping a little bit.
You want your sauce to be a little thick. And
That's
what is when I put it on, it dripped a bit, but once I got it in there, I make sure the dripping stops. But
Okay.
yes, it's gonna be a little thicker. If you make it thick enough, it won't drip as much. But on the bottom of my dehydrator, You could put the parchment paper on the bottom of the dehydrator to collect the drip. I just. But
If you have the one that has a bottom that you could pull out and then you could clean it up, it comes out easy.
but you can always put parchment paper on the bottom.
Yeah, you can pull past it to the bottom of it if you want to.
But the key
Okay.
is in making your sauce not too thick, but thick enough. If it's too thick, it will be difficult to coat. So you want it to have some body, the sauce, but at the same time, it has to be a little, flowing, but thick enough that it will stick on the leaves and not just all. If you notice the one that I made before, you could see the cheese on it. It didn't drip off.
Okay. Someone had a clarification on the question about the breadcrumbs. They're saying if you use some other form of breadcrumbs, maybe store-bought crumbs, is that okay?
Oh, yes.
All
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
could use that. Yeah, you could use that. You could use. They have some gluten-free breadcrumbs also, and they have regular breadcrumbs.
Okay. And
Yeah.
someone says, thank you so much for that lentil roast. They have tried it and they made it and it came out very good. So they said thank you for
Hallelujah.
that. Yes,
Kudos.
yes. And
This is
highest,
a wonderful dish for Sabbath, and you make your country gravy, white gravy, whatever you have to decide, and whatever carbs you're gonna eat with it, and you have a meal.
yes. Someone asks, have you ever tried to make the kale chips without the sauce, just maybe some garlic and onion and salt, like the powders and
yes.
put them in?
Yes, I have. I make just a plain little sea salt and lemon, whatever I feel like. Sometimes I add a little maple or honey, make it like a sweet and sour. But yes, I have made a plain one without the cheese.
Okay. Thank you. Someone asked, when you remove the outer layer of the shell, the coconut shell, the inner white flesh is revealed. And oh, they're not asking a question. They're just saying they use that to make their milk.
Yeah, that's the inner white, and then it still has that brown backing on that, what I call it, that you peel that so you could get the shredded coconut white. If not, it will have like it will be a little brown. If you want it white, that's the same way with the coconut milk. You take that out of it, you peel it out, and you shred it, grate it, or whatever, or put it in the blender, and you can get your coconut milk out of that white inner shell.
Yes, yes,
The nut, I call it the nut.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's any further questions, if you guys can just go in and raise your hand and we can see about unmuting you.
And one thing I want to share about the lentil loaf, that makes a great sandwich. I use my same homemade dressing, and then I like to make waffle sandwiches. And so I take my waffles, put some dressing on there, my lettuce, my sprouts, and that lentil roast, and it makes a wonderful sandwich. So you
It
don't,
looks so delicious. I bet it does.
it's
Now,
really,
would you recommend soaking the lentils? I know lentils cook very fast. Would you recommend soaking them?
I
um,
soaked it a few minutes.
yes, not long, no more than about an hour because
Yeah.
it cook really fast.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let me check and see if there's any raised hands.
And you can substitute try using the yellow lentils and try using the green split peas, vary the beans and see how that comes out. Like with the green one, sometimes I add a little tip of curry to it, and that gives it a really nice flavor. But my favorite is the brown lentils, but I also use sometimes the yellow, use the red lentils. That one cooks really fast. And the green one, you can just substitute that with some of the same seasonings, and see.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it seems like everyone, all the participants online are fully satisfied. I don't see any further hands for questions. no more questions in the chat, but we just want to thank you all so much for these. I mean, I think you guys made like 4, was it 5 recipes in lightning
Yes,
speed. Lightning speed, and the presentation was delicious. We just want to
Thank
thank you.
you.
thank
We
you
are
so much.
definitely encouraged. We have placed the recipe, everyone, in the chat a few times. Um, if you have any further questions, now is the time to place them in the chat before we close. Gonna look one more time. Okay. All right.
I
So
guess that's
remember,
it.
we always post these presentations on YouTube. Just go to, if you have not already subscribed to Table of Christ YouTube channel, please do so. Also, if you would like to join our WhatsApp chat, please